Hi guys, welcome back to Coding 101, and in this video I'm going to be talking about collections, and more specifically I'm going to be talking about lists. We've spoken about lists back in the data type video, but this is going to be more of a deeper dive. So let's just start with an example, and I'm going to create a list of fruits. Right. Create. So we've created our list of fruits here, and first and foremost I want to discuss about the main characteristics of a list. And the first property of a list is that it has an order. So if you created a list as we have here, it will always maintain its order. It will not change the order of its item. So we created an item apple, orange, banana. It will always be in that order. So if you print this twice, there won't be any changes here. So as you can see, the position remains the same. That means that the list has a set order. Second property is that it is changeable. So you can actually modify the items. You can change the items. You can add items to the list. You can remove it. It's changeable. And the second, the last main characteristic is that it allows for duplicate items. So for instance, if I want to put another item called apple, it's the same item. If I run it, it's perfectly fine. We can put duplicate items there. So those are the main properties of a list. So the first thing you might want to do with a list is probably you want to access each item. And the way to do that is by its index. So an index is basically its position. And in list for Python, there is a zero based index. So basically it starts with a 0. So if you want to get the first item, you just put in square brackets a 0 after the list. Print that. We get the first item. If we get the second item, it's 1. So and so on and so forth. If you increase the number, you will go up the list. So if this is basically a positive number, if you use a negative number, that will be also fine. But if you put -1, it will get the last item of the list. So apple, and if you decrement it down to 2, you'll get the second to last item. And that is basically a way for you to get items from the end of the list. So these are single indices. You can also create basically a range of items. You can access a range of items. If I want to, for example, get the middle 2 items, I can just say I'm going to start at 1, which is the second item, put a colon and end. And you would think I would end at 2, but I'm going to end at 3 because the end index will be ignored. So fruits ending at 3, which is position 3, is the last item. It will ignore that item and stop at the next the item before that. So that's how you get the 2 items in the middle. And you can also use negative indices here as well, so you can get the same thing. And also you can leave out numbers here. You can leave out the start index, and this will basically access from the start of the list. So you will go apple, orange, banana, and that's where it cancels out. And then you can remove the end item and start at 1. It will go all the way to the end. So that's how you get a um, range of items from the list. So that's how you access items from the list. The next thing you might want to do is you might want to change or update items in the list. Let's go ahead and maybe I'm going to change the last item of the list because it's a duplicate. Maybe I don't want that. I'm going to say cherry out there, and I'm going to just print that out. And you get the last item. You change the last item to cherry. So that's how you modify the list using indexes. So In addition to modifying the items or updating the items, you can also add to the list. So you can use the append function, and you can just say I want to append. Okay, I'm going to remove this here. I'm going to run that. So basically what this function does is that it adds to the end of the list. So it adds cherry to the end of the list. And if you don't want to do that, you have a specific position in mind, you can use the insert. And you can put in the index. Maybe I want to put at position 1. And if you run that, it will add the new item in that position. So that's how you can add to the list. So how do you want to remove items from the list? First thing you can do is maybe you can say remove. I'm gonna remove orange. So that's how you remove. You can just remove the item orange from the list. Or you want to remove the last item. So you can use pop. This will remove the last item. So there you go. Banana is the last item, it removes. Or you want to empty the list, you can do something like clear. And this will give you an empty list. And the last way to remove items from the list, you can use the delete keyword here, del. And you can put maybe the particular position you want to remove. Okay, 1, run that, it removes orange. So that's how you remove items from the list. So we've actually gone through updating the items, how do you read items from the list, how you add items, how you remove items. So the last thing I want to take a look at is, or the second to last, I'm going to look at how do you want to loop through a list. So if you do a traditional for loop, you can say for I in range, and you want to put the length of the list in this range function here. And to get the number of items in the list, you can use the length function, len. Then you put fruits, you'll get the length of the list fruits. And then you can print out fruits and the index of I. So as you know, this variable I will increment every loop. So if you run this code, you will print out each item of the list. So that's how you loop through a list. But there's actually a better way of doing it, a less convoluted way rather. So instead of doing this, you can type out for fruit in fruits. Then you can say print fruit, and it'll accomplish the same thing. Let's just add another fruit just so that you can see basically the same thing. Yeah, so that's how you look through the list. You can actually use any identifier here. You can even put I if you want, and you can just print I, and it will actually accomplish the same thing. So that's how you look through a list. The last thing I'm going to go through is list comprehension. So list comprehensions are basically doing a operation on a list in a single line. So let's give an example. I'm going to create a list called filtered fruits, and I'm going to do a square bracket of a list. And instead of putting items in the list, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in fruit for fruits in fruit, also for fruit in fruits, if fruit, or if length of fruit is greater than 5. Greater than 5, and I'm going to print out this filtered list. That's my filtered list of filtered fruits. That's the wrong name there. Filtered fruits. Okay, So what we've just done here is using a list comprehension, we've been able to filter any of the items that have a length that is greater than 5. So we've written orange and banana because these are the fruits that have a length greater than 5. So this is how you do a list comprehension. It basically uses a loop here statement and then maybe an if condition, and then and this basically the start here fruit will be the return value here. So you can actually do multiple things. So you can even maybe do sort of operations on it. I'm just going to say maybe I'm going to say fruit plus ABC, or fruit, or just I'm going to just put this string here, fruit, and if I run this code, it's going to append the word fruit after this condition was met here. So after it gets orange and banana, we can add in fruit here. So this is actually quite a powerful way of doing multiple things basically the in a single line here. So those are basically, we've gone through a lot of stuff regarding lists. So I'm going to end this video here, and in the next video we're going to be talking about tuples, and I guess I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.